Hey everyone, it's Yvonne Amit Elizondo from Silver Moon Astrology, and I hope everyone is doing well because we have some astrology weather that is headed our way, and we may want to hold on for the ride. So, this is where I'm supposed to have like introductory music, but I don't know how to do that yet. I should probably learn how, but I don't. So I'm going to just jump right on in. I have to tell you, I have quite a bit of notes. I love using, I'm old school. I love using the different colors. So I'm old school. I do have a lot of notes here. And so I'm going to try to condense this video as best as I can. But I also want to be thorough with the forecast that I'm sharing with you. So please keep in mind, I am going to bounce around a little bit. I am definitely working on my ADHD. I'm focusing on not getting sidetracked. Okay, I make no promises, but I my intention is real. Okay. Okay, so there is quite a bit that's going on here in especially the next few months. I don't know if you can hear Azul. He's looking for his ball. It's up on the stairs, and I have the gate up. So, um, let me go get that for him. Because if not, he's going to be whining. Okay, here we go. Whew, I gave him some treats, so let's see how he does with that. But anyhow, you might hear him in the background. Where was I? Yeah, so we have quite a bit of astrology that is going on. So, I have no idea whether lighting does this. I think it's my camera that's doing the lighting thing. So, please forgive me. It gets dark, it gets light, it gets dark, it gets light. So, anyhow, I said I wasn't going to go ADHD, and I just did it. Um, So let's keep going. Okay, I am going to show you the chart. Here we go. Okay, please keep in mind, I love to teach. Okay, so I love to go over the chart. Not everybody is as fond of looking at the chart as I am, but I enjoy it, so I'm going to do it. Okay, the first thing we're going to focus on is this lunar eclipse, okay, on September 7th, 1:08 p.m., okay, the lunar eclipse in Pisces. All right, so that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Now, 2 weeks later, okay, we are going to have a solar eclipse, and this is not the chart for it, okay, this is the chart for September 7th, but just giving you an idea of where this is going to happen. So, 2 weeks later, we're going to have a solar eclipse in Virgo. All right, so that's the eclipse polarity that I'm going to talk about. There's another really important thing that's happening. So we have, Neptune retrograde in Aries, right? But we've also had Saturn, okay, in Aries since May, from May until September 1st, right? But now Saturn has retrograded back into Pisces, right? And it's at the 29th degree. So we do want to talk about that because it's also in Pisces. So again, Pisces is, Pisces energy is, being activated, right? All right. And then we have the Uranus stationing to turn retrograde in Gemini, okay, on the date of the eclipse on the 7th. Okay, so that's also important. And of course, we have Pluto that's deciding to be out of bounds, which we're not really going to focus on in this, chart. But so there is quite a bit that is happening astrologically. So we need to figure out, like, what's going on. Okay, so I want to start off first with that Neptune. Okay, Saturn. So I'm just gonna just show you one more time. Okay, because repetition is key. Okay, here it is because we can see it now. Okay. All right. So Neptune and Neptune retrograde and Saturn retrograde, right? Those two have been hanging out in Aries, right? So they've been hanging out in Aries for together for since May. Okay, we are in September. So for the summer months, right? For the summer months, these two energies have been hanging out together. Now, ideally, what these two energies, represent, right? That it's the combination of, what's real and what's fake. Okay, so Neptune it's a very ethereal energy. It's like fog. It can make things confusing. You really can't see through things, right? Like, I mean, if you're driving through fog, like I've always said, you have a sense of where you might be going, but you don't really have full clarity. Okay. And so Neptune, it makes like it's a dream state. right? It's a highly spiritual energy on a really positive, high frequency, vibration. It represents everything outside of the bounds of Saturn, so it can go on forever and ever and ever. And so our spirit energy goes on forever and ever and ever. And essentially that's what Neptune represents, right? So it's this highly elusive type of energy. You can't see it, right? Like in my opinion, okay, I know that there are spirit ghosts, if you want to say that, okay? Why? Because I've seen them, and maybe some of you have too. Uh, but we don't always see them, right? Okay, and so that's the Neptune energy. It's kind of like we see them, but we don't see them, all right? So Neptune has been hanging out in, hold on. Don't you dare. No. What are you doing? No counter surfing for you. Uh-uh. Go. You had your treat. Come on, go. Goodbye. Okay. All right. He was counter surfing. That's a no-no. Okay. So back to Neptune and Saturn, right? So Saturn is the opposite of that. Saturn is, solid. It's grounded. It's earth energy. Okay. It represents, the solidity, the realness of things. It's the physical manifestation of, life, basically, is Saturn. Okay. And so, with these two energies hanging out in Aries, right? We're going to put Aries aside for a bit, but these two energies hanging out in, in Aries, there's been this struggle between recognizing what's real and what's not real. Okay. And I mean, I don't know about you all, but I have really been struggling with that, especially like watching videos on YouTube, right? Like, I am genuinely missing the energetic connection that happens when I watch, an AI video versus when I watch a live person video. Okay. I miss that energy connection. Okay. But I can't tell sometimes what's real and what's not real. Right. And that includes with news, that includes with politics, that includes with religion. I mean, everything that's out there, at least right now, in my opinion, is it's in that construct, non-construct of reality versus non-reality. Like, is this real or is this not real? Like, something came out in the news the other day, and I was like, I actually had to question it. I don't remember what it was, but I know I was like, is this real? Right? So I feel like we're experiencing that in our non-reality reality, okay, with that Saturn and Neptune, okay, energy. And so I wanted to bring that up because one of the aspects that has shown up recently in there was an article on, I think it was on psychology, I'm pretty sure it was on Psychology Today, on mass psychosis, right? And so how the use of AI as a therapeutic tool, maybe even a spiritual tool, how, that's not always having positive effects, okay? Because AI, basically, I think what the article was saying, if I remember correctly, was that because AI tends to acclimate to your needs, right, and your likes and dislikes, it's going to validate everything for you, basically. Okay. And you can disagree with me. I, I'm sorry. I'm just not an AI person. I'm not. And I probably won't be. I'm sure at some point I'm going to have to use it. But as of right now, I don't use any AI tools. Okay. Um, that's just the Capricorn in me likes traditional stuff. I don't know. But anyhow, so just be careful. Okay. Those of you that are using, AI as a spiritual tool or a therapeutic tool, I'm just going to say, like, please be very careful. I don't ever believe that AI will be able to supplement what a true therapeutic live person um, can do. So that's just me. Anyhow, so that's the energy that we're experiencing. It's like what's real, what's not real. Okay. The other part of this that I mentioned was that Saturn retrograde. Okay, it entered. It spent the last 3 years in that Pisces energy. So I'm going to show you the chart real quick. All right. So it entered Pisces 3 years ago. And where are we? Here we go. Okay, so the last 3 years, here's Saturn. Okay, it's retrograde currently, but it spent the last 3 years traveling through the water sign of Pisces, and we're going to talk about Pisces energy in just a bit. Okay, but it traveled to this part of your chart. Okay, and now what it did from May until the beginning of September of this year was that it peaked into Aries, hung out with Neptune, made everything like, what is it real? Is it not real? And now it has retrograded back into Pisces and it's at the 29th degree. And so let's just very quickly, explore what that means. Okay. So Saturn is the parent in the chart. Again, it makes things solid. Okay. What Saturn is looking for is that the framework of the house that it's going to live in, okay, is solid. And so what it's done the last 3 years in Pisces is that it's helped develop, okay, and again, this really depends a whole bunch on where these energies lie in your chart. Okay, that's why it's really important to have your own birth chart available so you can, take a look at this. And if you don't have that, come and see me. I will help you with that. But so Pisces, that Saturn in Pisces was about a lot of water themes. We saw a lot of water themes happen the last 3 years. Okay, but water is emotion. The element of water is emotion. Okay, it's spirituality. It's compassion. It's empathy, right? On a lesser vibration, on a not so good day, it can be emotional instability. It could be emotional moodiness, right? It can be psychosis, right? Going too much into the ethereal, right? Or the dreamlike state, right? But Saturn was in that part of your chart, right? Or in Pisces, generally speaking, the last 3 years, and so it's asked us to develop a sound foundation for our dreams, our goals, our sense of spiritualness, how we connect to the collective. Okay, all right. Now it peaked into Aries, right? And it's like, okay, I'm going to live here for the next 3 years, so I want to see the state of what Aries is like. Okay, Aries is fire; it's active fire, unlike Pisces, that is mutable water. This is Aries. This is fire. This is about me. Pisces is about the collective. It's about spirituality. Aries is about me. I am. Here I am, and about creation. So they're two very different energies. Okay. All right. But with Saturn retrograding back into Pisces, okay, from September 1st until I think it's the 13th or 16th of February of 26, okay, especially when it's in that 29th degree as it is now, it is going to pressure test, okay, that Pisces growth and development that you were supposed to have during its transit the last 3 years, okay, in Pisces. So again, it's going to, why? He's like a child. He's like a child that's just needing attention at this point. He is a child. Okay, so I will be right back. Pause. Okay, we had a little chit chat. I'm not quite sure if he's going to listen to mommy or not, but and let's pray. Okay. So anyhow, Saturn is pressure testing that part of your chart. Okay, it's pressure testing the Pisces, energy of connection and unity, and really making sure that all of that is sound because all of those dreams and goals and illusions, right? Creativity, all of those plans that you created in that Piscean energy um, the last 3 years, it's going to take that, Saturn's going to take that into Aries, okay, again in February, all right, 26, and really start building and creating from those goals and those dreams. So you might have kind of gotten a good taste of that here during the summer months, those goals and the Piscean energy of like, dreaming ideals and, or how are you going to make them manifest? All right. Now, this is important because as we have, and this is the critical part that I do want to just review with you. So let's dive into the eclipse energy. Okay, with everything that I just mentioned about fake, real, not real. Okay, we're having eclipse season. Okay, did I say eclipse? I hope I said eclipse. It's eclipse. I don't remember what I just said, but it's eclipse season. So on the 7th of September, okay, at 1:08 p.m., we are having a lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. Now, again, 2 weeks later, we're going to have a solar eclipse, but I'm going to come back to that another time. But I want to just dive into why this lunar eclipse is so important, okay? And we just talked about the fake, non-fake, real reality, Saturn coming back into that place where you've created dreams, goals, okay? So let's talk about, the eclipses and what that means. Okay, so eclipse energy, all right. We always, eclipse energy, we always start off with eclipse season. Either we start off with a lunar eclipse, and then 2 weeks later we have a solar eclipse, or we start off with a solar eclipse and this, then we have a lunar eclipse. But essentially, eclipses are unstable energy. They bring instability, okay? Instability, and it's an ending and beginning cycle, right? And a lot of times we won't step into the change, okay, on our own. Usually there's a catalyst that really encourages or forces us or pushes us into change. All right. Why? Because we are human beings, and most of the time we start to feel comfortable with, everything just the way it is. And then, of course, life is like, you're not growing, you're not experiencing. So we have to give you eclipses, okay, so that the energy can become a little bit shaky or sometimes a lot shaky. In my opinion, eclipses could go either way. Okay, they could be a catalyst of significant, difficult times, or they can be a catalyst of change that can be easy. Okay, for lack of a better word. Okay, or enjoyable. Okay, but with that being said, eclipse energy brings instability. So it's not a time where you're like, all right, I'm rocking and it's going to stay like this. It's like, whoa, I'm kind of trying to stay, on my feet here. Okay. So this eclipse season, what we're really looking for with this eclipse, um, a Piscean lunar eclipse, and then 2 weeks later on the 21st, the solar eclipse in Virgo. What we're looking for here is, there's a 6 month, time frame that this story is going to unfold. Okay, whatever the story is specifically for you. But let's talk about collectively what that means. So the Piscean, oopsie, so the Piscean energy, there's this tension that happens with eclipses, right? Because they're on the polarities. Here's Pisces, lunar eclipse, and then here's, the solar eclipse in Virgo. And so there's a tug of war, there's a tension that tends to happen with those two different energies. All right, so I'm going to explain what those energies are. And then, of course, if you want more detail, then we look at your chart to see where this is happening in your chart specifically. So Piscean energy, okay, when the moon is in Pisces, the moon represents emotions, right, for the most part, okay? It represents our body, it represents our sense of higher self, okay? But essentially, what we're looking for with it represents mom in the chart too, okay? Mother energy. But in Pisces, okay, Pisces again is a fluid water, okay? It sometimes struggles with boundaries, okay, because it's just like water that just kind of goes with the flow, okay? And so it might struggle with boundaries, okay? It has the ability to be super compassionate. There's a sense of psychicness. It's connected to, spirituality. It's your sense of collective identity. It's the dreamer, the artist, okay, the sense of etherealness, right? And again, it's connected to spirituality because if you talk to artists, a lot of times they're like, I just had this inspiration, okay? And that's what it means. It's like a sense of being in spirit inspired, all right? And so it can reflect also the moodiness of emotions. Okay, if you have any Piscean people in your life, you might recognize that, yeah, man, they're like so easygoing, but boy, sometimes they can be really moody or hyper idealistic, can get cranky, really easily. They might be sensitive. All right. So a lot of these, quote unquote characteristics are associated with this Pisces energy, all right, because it's emotion. Now, the solar eclipse in 2 weeks, and I'm going to do another video on the solar eclipse, but basically what I want us to really take from this is, the solar eclipse and even just the full moon, because the sun is in Virgo, just even this, the lunar eclipse, because it's a supercharged full moon, it's in detail oriented, practical, earthbound Virgo, right? So Virgo is very much about looking at the details. It likes to dive into the weeds. It has a very clear picture of everything that is going on, and it likes to take account of everything. Virgos, if you have any Virgos, in your life, you know that they are probably sometimes seen as critical people. Okay, and it could be criticalness, but I think it comes from a good place most of the time because they're looking for um, things that could potentially go wrong. And if those things go wrong, then somebody might get hurt, right? They're the healers in the chart. Okay, so it's not like they're going to go in there and try to create havoc in your life on purpose. It's just that they're looking for those things that could potentially not work out. And so, in and of themselves, they become critical, and then sometimes they can internalize, that sense of a critical perspective on themselves. So again, you have these two opposing energies where Pisces is very fluid. It likes the bigger picture, right? It envisions these grandiosities of, whatever it's tapping into. And then Virgo energy it's the opposite. It's very detail oriented. It's in the weeds. So Pisces energy has a difficult time grounding itself and really, stabilizing, whereas Virgo can become overly rigid and has a really difficult time of just going with the flow. So these are the energies that this, eclipse, these two eclipses are pulling tension on, right? So from my perspective, eclipses are a catalyst for bringing harmony and balance into life. Now, if you hear eclipse and harmony and balance, you're going to say, yeah, that's not how it works because that's not true, right? Eclipses can be very challenging crisis points, but they can also be catalysts for endings and beginnings, and really bring change. And it also depends on how you integrate that energy, right? So if it's a lunar eclipse, the integration is going to be internal. Okay, but the lunar eclipse means that whatever change is happening, ending, beginning, so forth, there's going to be an inner reflection, internal integration. If it's a solar eclipse, then there's going to be an external integration. In other words, how are we going to, work through this change, or ending, beginning, um, outside of us, right, in the world, so to speak. Okay, so with this lunar eclipse, let's stick to the lunar eclipse. This lunar eclipse is very much going to be about shaking things up, okay, in that part of your life, okay. And I use shaking up again. It could be a little shake up, okay. It could be a great shake up, or it could be a little shake up. I just want to make that clear. But basically, what it's doing is that it's highlighting, okay, that part of your chart that deals with the collective unity, okay? And the collective unity could include your dreams and your goals and your inspirations. It could, reflect on your sense of spirituality, your sense of connection, okay, to others, your sense of connection to yourself, all right? It can sometimes highlight those places within you that maybe are hidden, okay, and that maybe you don't really want to tap into, all right? And so it's kind of like bringing in, what's those machines that scoop up dirt? I don't remember what they're called, okay, but it does that, right? It moves stuff around, the energy around, so that you can start to say, oh, shoot, there's some stuff down there that maybe I need to, still work on, okay? But again, it's how you work through this energy that's important, right? And so this lunar eclipse, I mean, I like to keep things simple during eclipse times. I don't necessarily do any magical work or any, ritual work during eclipse times because the energy is so unstable. But that doesn't mean that I mean, hey, if you like unstable energy and it works for you and that's what you're looking for, by all means, please use this energy. I don't think that there's a right or wrong when we practice any sort of, magical work or spell work or anything like that. Okay, some might disagree, but that's just how I feel. So again, I really, what I would do for the next 2 weeks, okay, is I would take a candle, okay, and then maybe a bowl of water on one end, okay, a bowl of water, and then maybe use some fishies in the water, okay, and I mean like fishies, like little fish, okay, in the water, anything dealing with water, put a bowl of water, okay, and then maybe a bowl of earth, maybe crystals, maybe grass, maybe, sand, okay, because Virgo is very much like sand, right? It's movable sand, okay, it's still earth, you can move it around, but it's still sand. And and just light the candle and tap into the energy of that water, right? Like, what is it trying to tell you? Okay, tap into the energy of the earth, of the crystals. What are they trying to tell you? If you look at both of those elements, where missing the mark, right? Are you being too much of a dreamer and, exploring your sense of like just going out and being a free spirit, okay? Because if you know Piscean energy, they're like, yeah, the house is burning down, but don't worry about it, we'll take care of it eventually, okay? Or are you being too much of a Virgo energy? Maybe sometimes it's rigid, sometimes it has challenges wanting to change, right? It's like, yeah, the house is burning down, and you're like, no, the house is not burning down. But the house could burn down because the electrical wires are not correct, and so we need to replace the electrical. Like, that's Virgo energy. So you see the difference between the two. So during this lunar eclipse, it is a time of release because it's also a time of beginnings. And so taking account of what really needs to go in your life. It could be friends. It could be, I'm sorry, it could be friends. It could be a job. It could be, material things, okay, belief systems. All right, what needs to go so that you can bring in the new, but especially when it deals with the collective, okay, with how you integrate with other people, okay. It also may be a sense of reflection about how you integrate with yourself, all right. Maybe being more compassionate, okay. Maybe it's a time to forgive and release, okay. It's release and renewal, right. Sometimes we need to just let go of things in order to start a new beginning. And so I'm going to ask you to tap into your own sense of, as a spiritual being, right. um, where do you need to find balance between these two energies, the inspired, artistic, dreamer energy, and the practical, earth oriented, committed, Virgo energy. So, the last little thing that I'm going to add is that Uranus is also retrograding. Okay, it's stationed to turn retrograde on the day of the eclipse. So Uranus is the energy, I'll show you real quick. Uranus is the energy of sudden change. All right. And it's electrifying change, it's unexpected change. So here it is, it's stationing to turn retrograde in Gemini. All right. And the reason that I think this is important is because Uranus, because it is, also the, what's the word? Leader. I can't think of the word. Okay. The guy that, okay, takes charge, okay, of change, okay. And Gemini is an air energy. So again, it can bring instability in communications, social connections, data, information. And with, that Piscean energy where we have Saturn and Neptune and Aries, right? And the fake and not fake, okay? Again, this can show up in a weird way where we're not really sure about, our connection or communications, or things can change very quickly in that area, ultimately leading to maybe more unstable energy during this time. So that is it. Look, use the astrology forecast, okay, to prepare for this weather, astrological weather. So if you know it's coming, you're preparing yourself for it, okay? And then work with it. Don't resist it, but work with it in a healthy way. So that is it. I know this video was long. Thank you so much if you watched to the end. If you did and you like it, put the little like sign, click like on there. And it just, some people might need to watch this video because they might just like astrology, or maybe they need some sort of guidance. And if we can help make that happen, that would be great. All right, everyone, that is it. And oh, yes, I forgot. I'm supposed to say, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, to the channel. This really is my, it started off as my little client-based channel. So, I can keep in touch with my clients. I've had some additional, people appreciate what I do. So, thank you. Anyhow, that's it, everyone. Um, have a great lunar eclipse, and I will see you soon. Oh, yeah, you can reach me at silvermooncounseling.org or at info@silvermooncounseling.org. And that's really it. I'm done. I'm done. Okay. All right, everyone. Take care. Blessed be.